If you've been gardening for a while, you've probably heard people say, add molasses to your soil, plants love it, but here's the truth most gardeners never explain. While molasses is powerful, the way many people use it is basically the same as pouring it straight down the drain, and that's where the secret lies. In today's Soil Stories Deep Dive, I'm breaking down the real reason molasses works, how you've probably been using it wrong, and the exact method that turns it into one of the cheapest and most effective natural root growth boosters you'll ever use. This isn't just another trendy garden hack, it's a method I've tested, retested, and watched completely transform weak seedlings, struggling plants, and tired soils. So pull up a chair, fellow gardener. Let's talk molasses and unlock the trick most people are hiding. Most gardeners will tell you molasses feeds the soil, but they rarely explain what that actually means. Molasses on its own isn't a fertilizer in the usual sense. It's not full of nitrogen, phosphorus, or potassium. What it is full of is simple sugars, minerals, and trace elements that act as premium fuel for the most important life in your garden. Soil microbes. These tiny workers, bacteria, fungi, and beneficial organisms, are the real heroes responsible for building strong, deep, resilient root systems. When microbes thrive, roots thrive. When microbes explode in population, roots explode in growth. And when molasses is used correctly, it creates a microbial feeding frenzy that transforms hard, lifeless soil into a soft, rich, breathable root paradise. But here's the problem. Most gardeners use molasses in ways that waste its potential and even harm the soil. If you've ever poured molasses straight into the soil or mixed it too strong, you may have actually slowed microbial activity instead of boosting it. So let's break down the secret method that, really makes all the difference. The biggest mistake is using molasses alone. The secret most experienced organic gardeners use, but don't often mention, is pairing molasses with something that brings microbes to life instantly. Organic matter, moisture, and oxygen. Molasses is like fuel, but fuel alone won't do anything unless you have an engine. So the trick is not to apply molasses directly, but to activate it with living microbes before introducing it to the soil. The result is a powerful living root stimulant that works faster, deeper, and far more effectively than raw molasses ever could. Let's walk through the exact method. This simple process turns ordinary molasses into a living microbial brew, the kind that makes roots expand, multiply, and anchor deeply into the soil. To keep things clear, I'll describe this process exactly how I teach it on Soil Stories, speaking gardener to gardener. Step 1. Start with non-chlorinated water. Chlorine kills microbes, so using tap water straight out of the pipe really defeats the purpose. If you must use tap water, just let it sit for 24 hours so the chlorine dissipates. Warm, non-chlorinated water is ideal because, microbes activate faster that way. Step 2. Add molasses, but just a little, okay? This is where, honestly, most gardeners go wrong. Too much molasses suffocates microbes. You want just 1 tablespoon per 4 liters of water. That tiny amount is enough to feed billions of microbes once the brew comes alive. Alright, step 3 is to add your microbial starter. This is really the magic, folks. You need something alive to multiply in the molasses water. You can use a handful of finished compost, a cup of worm castings, or even a scoop of forest soil. Each contains a whole universe of beneficial organisms. Stir gently, don't shake. Microbes need oxygen. Step 4. Let it aerate. This is the part nobody tells you. Molasses actually becomes a true root booster only when oxygen is available. So, let your mixture sit uncovered for several hours, or even overnight, so those microbes can wake up, multiply, and start consuming the sugars. After 12 to 24 hours, you now have a bioactive molasses tonic. It should smell earthy, sweet, and just a bit yeasty, kind of like healthy soil. Step 5. Apply immediately. Microbes are alive, you know. They need to be used quickly. Water your plants at the base and, gently soak the root zone. Within just a few days, the transformation begins. When you apply the activated mixture, you're not just feeding the soil, you're introducing, well, billions of active workers ready to break down organic matter, unlock nutrients, and create root-friendly conditions. Here's what happens underground. Roots encounter softer, looser soil, microbes break down nutrients into plant-available forms, fungi create pathways for roots to travel deeper, beneficial bacteria crowd out harmful pathogens, the root zone becomes richer, more oxygenated, and, honestly, more fertile. The result is visible above the soil: faster growth, stronger stems, greener leaves, better stress tolerance, and, improved flowering and fruiting. In short, activated molasses doesn't just help plants, it supercharges the underground world that plants depend on. Now that you know the secret, timing becomes key. Here's when I personally reach for my molasses brew. When starting seedlings, a small dose strengthens early roots and reduces transplant shock. When transplanting, it helps new roots settle quickly into unfamiliar soil. During early growth, plants build stronger root systems before focusing on stems and leaves. When soil feels tired or compacted, the microbes begin rebuilding the structure almost immediately. After heavy rain or overwatering, it restores microbial life that may have been washed away or suffocated. And before flowering or fruiting, healthy roots mean stronger blooms and higher yields. So, think of activated molasses as a way to, reset and recharge your soil's biology whenever it needs a boost. To keep your soil healthy, you'll want to avoid the traps that most gardeners tend to fall into. Never pour molasses directly into soil. It can actually create anaerobic conditions and kill beneficial microbes. Don't make it too strong. More sugar doesn't mean more growth, it just leads to microbial imbalance. Also, don't store the mixture. After about 24 hours, it starts to sour and lose its benefits. And finally, don't use chlorinated water. It basically cancels everything you're trying to achieve. This is why so many gardeners say, molasses didn't work. They were using it in ways that weakened the soil instead of energizing it. What I love most about this method, and honestly, what makes it worthy of any Soil Stories episode, is just how dramatically it improves soil texture. Within weeks of regular use, heavy soil becomes lighter, crumbly, and honestly, just full of life. Sandy soil starts to hold moisture better. Clay loosens up, compacted beds recover, and roots, well, they spread effortlessly. Good roots make good plants, and good soil makes good roots. Activated molasses bridges all three. It's not that people are hiding molasses on purpose, it's that very few understand the why behind it. Once you know that microbes are the true target, everything makes sense. So here's the thing, molasses isn't magic, microbes are. Molasses is simply the spark, And when used correctly, that spark can really change the entire story of your soil. That's why I call it, honestly, one of the most underrated tools in natural gardening. If there's one thing I've learned through Soil Stories, it's that gardening becomes easier, more fruitful, and honestly, a lot more enjoyable when we work with the living soil rather than against it. Activated molasses is, one of the simplest ways to nurture that underground world and watch your plants respond with gratitude. So don't waste molasses by using it raw, activate it. Feed your soil. Grow those roots. And watch your garden thrive in ways you've never seen before. If you found this guide helpful, don't forget to subscribe to Soil Stories, share this article with other gardeners, and help spread the secret of healthier, happier, livelier soil. Your garden, and your fellow growers, will thank you.